My name's Ellyn Hefner, and I am a special needs consultant. I work for Mass Mutual, but I also work with families. I am an ambassador for the State Treasurer's Office for the ABLE account, which I'm just going to speak about. But I help families make that plan. And here's my three great little kids, we're all at the house right now, but together. But I appreciate you guys watching this. If you watch this video, it's a lot of great information. And I am fortunate to do outreach for the State Treasurer's Office. I appreciate Treasurer Randy McDaniel and Deputy Treasurer Tim Allen. Their support has been great in all the webinars that we've been doing on OK Stable, and the ones we have presented the past 8 weeks. We've done quite a few of them about the CARES Act and Oklahomans with disabilities receiving stimulus checks and what to do with those. And OK Stable has a piece of that. So in doing outreach for these OK Stable accounts, we get to speak to a lot of families, myself and the deputy director, and we get to speak with families with a child with a disability, providers, family members, and I have a few stories that I like to tell about how this law, ABLE, relates to citizens with a disability, and it's more personal because I have a son, William, who has a disability, my youngest. I'm going to try and make this valuable, and with these stories and how ABLE impacts lives, and it's really a great thing, the best thing to talk about. I love questions too, and I'll show some contact information. There is also a couple other ambassadors, and you'll see their names, Roseanne Duplan and Angela Downley, and their contact information. And the state treasurer, he knows about ABLE, but he'll just pass it on to us. So to start this presentation, these are my three kids. Most people think I got into this line of work because of my youngest, William, who was born with a disability, but not true. It was because of his siblings, Evelyn and Harry, that I do this work. Evelyn graduated last year and she's in pre-med. That's what she wants to do. And Harry's a ballet dancer, and he's not sure what he wants to do with his future. But if something happens to me, because I'm a widow, they already feel this sort of responsibility that they have to take care of William. And William's is their whole life, right? You know, William's always going to need supports. So it's up to me to make a plan so that they both can have their best life. And ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and they have that as well. So OK Stable is a part of that, for them having a great life. So 3 things that I was told in the hospital after I had William. One was early intervention is awesome. Get enrolled in Sooner Start, which we did, which is a birth to 3 program in Oklahoma. Highly recommended. It was a really great start for me as a parent and for William in his development. Join a support group, which I have. There's many people I have that have a child with a disability that I trust for them to tell me what, the real, and also can be there when I need a hug and to cry on a shoulder. Been very helpful. And the other thing they told me, and I didn't really think about it until after my husband died, really, was do not save money in your child's name. Now, I was told it was because of benefits, but like when they're 2 years old, 18 is so far down the road because you're dealing with IEPs and IFSPs and speech therapy or whatever you got going on in your life, plus raising the other kids and having a job. So you always kick that down the road, right? Well, so ABLE is a part of that on how to protect those benefits and have money and can save money in his name. So what is ABLE? The acronym, as I said, is Achieving a Better Life Experience. So federal legislation was that was passed in December 2014 because of advocacy by people and families with disabilities. That's exciting that advocates were the ones that pushed this to the forward. They kept saying about this, they wanted a change. We have to make a change because people and families with disabilities are kept poor. They are kept impoverished by the system because public benefits don't allow a person to save money or have money, because if they want the support of the benefit, they have to get rid of that money. ABLE allows people to save money and not have that money affect their public benefits. So when we say benefits, when I say benefits, that means all public benefits, but the two that people are most concerned about in the disability world is SSI and Medicaid, because those are the two that are the most impactful on their lives. SSI is Supplemental Security Income and is administered by Social Security Association, and Medicaid, which provides not just medical or therapies and prescriptions, but also home care. And that seems to be a that seems to be a reason why people also stay on benefits and will stay under that asset limit. So in the disability world, a lot of people know the word spend down if their child is over 18 or if their child is receiving benefits. If you are receiving benefits, your asset limit is $2,000. So let's say a person with a disability has a job. Well, if their income goes a little bit over that $2,000, they can't go over that, or their benefits will stop. So they do this thing called spend down. So a friend of mine, when I visited her home, she lives with a couple other people, and they have all these recliners in the living room. And I kind of made a joke about it because I do that, make jokes. And she said, oh, it's because of spend down. So she really taught me that it wasn't exactly what she wanted to spend her money on, but it was the amount of money that she had to spend so that she could keep her benefits. Interesting. So putting money in a child's account when they're young, and you're not told about that, you got to do something with that money. So we used to do, what we've told people to do is hide generational wealth. And I put wealth in quotes because, everyone's got, I know people who just grew up with piggy banks, or if we start thinking about what happens when we're gone, we trust someone to hold on to some money so that my son can get something that he won't be able to have if he's in that asset limit. Not always a good idea. And so ABLE makes it possible that we can save that sort of money that we want to pass on after we're gone. So hiding money, spending down money, doing things that that putting it in cash and under a bed, not a good idea. ABLE is a safe place. So ABLE accounts are used for saving, asset protection. Some public benefits look at assets and income. ABLE is an asset protection piece, not an income protection piece. So ABLE is kind of like 529, and if 529 is a savings account that parents would open when their kids were young, and they put this money. It's got some tax advantages, benefits, because the growth doesn't count. It doesn't gain taxes. So it's kind of good to put money in there, but that was for a specific purpose. That was supposed to go to college, education. It also, you have to wait you have to wait till you're 18, but it's kind of like a 529 because it grows without having to pay those taxes on the increase. And it's for a specific purpose. So kind of like a 529. It's kind of like a checking account because it's transactional. You can take money out and you can put money in. And there's some rules to that. And it's kind of like a special needs trust. Special needs trusts have some requirements that the ABLE doesn't, and vice versa. And we'll get into that in the future. But when someone asks me, should I get an ABLE account or a special needs trust? I say yes. If you can, get them both. They work well together, and we'll talk about that as well. So what is Oklahoma Stable? Again, it is Oklahoma's ABLE program. We joined with Ohio, who already had an ABLE account. They had the first ABLE account in America, and there's several other states that we worked in one group. There's a lot of bonus to that. One is fees. One is we get a lot of support to run it. But this one, our OK Stable, is administered from the Oklahoma Treasurer's Office. And here's a picture of Randy McDaniel. This ABLE account was launched May 31, 2018. The biggest barrier to Oklahomans and OK Stable right now is that people don't know that it exists. And so we've been able to do these Zoom presentations, myself and the other ambassadors, to let people know in small towns and big towns, and sitting at their own home and at their time, without the cost of a babysitter, that they can learn about this, or a caregiver, someone to help them out. Um, Another barrier is misinformation. Sometimes there's information out there about ABLE that's been put out there that's not really true, and sometimes can make families not think that this is a good choice for them. Anything that's supported by the treasurer's office in a presentation is definitely the word and the truth. And if you have any questions about it that you've heard, please reach out, because I do want to have more families open these accounts, and to open them because they know what it can do and what the reality is of it, and not maybe what they were told in a barrier. We'll try to keep those barriers out. So it takes a lot of outreach, but it also takes a trust, because for years we've told families, like I said, when I didn't know why she told me that in the hospital, but it was to protect William's future benefits. And he was just a baby. He was 3 weeks old. But it is that we get into this track and we need the benefits. I think William, I'm hoping that he gets a job and that he'll have a living wage. But until he gets to that point, he's going to need those benefits, especially when I'm gone. And so I have a friend who's got a son, and I mean, she's lovely, but she's an older parent. And since her husband passed, she's watched her son his whole life. And she wants to believe me, but she's been told for 80 years or whatever that she cannot have money in his name over $2,000. And she'll follow those rules, because for her now, in her stage of life, she needs to know that her son's going to have those benefits. So she's playing it by the rules that we knew. But the rules have changed a bit. And we hate saying that because it scares people when we say, oh my gosh, there's a big change. The rule on you can only have $2,000 in assets has changed. You can have more than $2,000 in assets if you play by the rules, which is an ABLE account, which is law. So benefits of ABLE accounts. So before ABLE, couldn't save over $2,000, like I've said. And with that, if you were $2,000 in one, you were at risk of losing your health care and other benefits. But now with Oklahoma Stable, you can save over $2,000 and keep all your benefits. And I think to us families, especially during this time with COVID, how many families are struggling because they didn't have that savings. They didn't have a couple of months of rent, or and they were furloughed, or it drastically impacts your life if you're unable to put away money for a rainy day or a vacation or a new car or a house. And so offering, having adults with disabilities able to save money for what they want or their protections is what ABLE is, and where we can put money. So like I said, the game changer idea, we don't want to say it's a game changer, but think about it, from $2,000 till we can save more. And there are limits, but imagine the mind shift. It's just incredible. I keep thinking of different things and different ideas about how families can have their lives be different because of ABLE. So there's ownership. Like I said before, William couldn't have money in his name. The accounts are owned by the person with the disability. So it's his account. You can open up one account because it's for the one person. I like that. I think that's a good idea, to have the individual with a disability have that ownership, giving him that responsibility and sharing the responsibility, because there's ways that people can help with these accounts. So financial independence, there are investment opportunities, and those are great, especially if you look at it as a 529 for those families. Like I saved for the first two with their college education, and so now they can use that for their education. But for William, saving him money now, because it's only been a couple years, I can now save for what his future will need and what he'll need for that. And then there's tax benefits, may qualify for multiple tax benefits. We did have a nice bill that we put through session, the state treasurer's office did, and it creates an income tax deduction for contributions to ABLE accounts established by the ABLE program. So beginning in the, for the tax year, we want it to be 2020, but individual filers may deduct up to $10,000 per year, or $20,000 for joint filers if they deposited that money into an ABLE account. We got put on hold. We weren't a priority, but I talked to the state treasurer just recently, and he said we're back on it for next session. So eligibility, you can go to the okstable.org website, and there is a tiny eligibility quiz, but I'll just give you the basics of this. The first one is Oklahoma residents with disabilities that occurred prior to age 26 can open up an account. And I want to be clear about that. We do have ABLE account holders that are 90 years old, but there's been some that they've had a diagnosis before the age of 26, then you are able to open up an ABLE account. Plus, you need one of the following so that you're eligible to receive SSI or SSDI due to disability. Not that you're receiving those benefits, but that you're eligible to receive those. Or not an and here. If it's a condition listed on the SSA's list of compassionate allowances conditions, and there's a whole bunch of listed disabilities on that. It's very broad range. It's not just the developmental disabilities. There's medical conditions, rare medical conditions are on there as well, mental health, and then wounded warriors are taking advantage of these accounts as well. They've actually trying to put increased pressure on Congress regarding the ABLE age. It's called the ABLE Age Adjustment Act, and it would help wounded warriors over the age of 26 and others who acquired a disability after the age of 26. This bill is not perfect. It'll extend it to the age of 46 so that you can apply before 46. It's not passed. It's not, just kind of in limbo. We're still in conversation, but it's not perfect. But at least we can give those vets be able to open up an account before the age of 46 when this is passed. And then the last one is self-certification. So self-certification, need a diagnosis of a physical or mental impairment that causes marked and severe functional limitations. This is the same phrase used at Social Security. And disability has to last longer than a year. You don't have to send any paperwork. ABLE never asked for paperwork. Isn't that fantastic? How many times have we gone to receive a service for a child and had to fill out forms in triplicate, and it takes a while. We have to wait in the line, but this isn't like that. My son's paperwork, if I would to look for it, and it's all in a binder. I haven't looked at that binder in a long time, but there's nothing in there that says marked and severe. But in the binder, there's a bunch of medical and reports and IEPs and IQ tests that show that he has a disability. So if someone comes knocking on my door, I can show them this binder. And so it's really nice for families, that I can, as his parent, self-certify for him that says I have a disability. This program tries to reduce barriers as well. Those barriers as parents, the paperwork and the document forms, and sometimes I'll be honest that for service, I hope William wasn't in the room when I did it, but maybe make him look, and I put this in quotes, more disabled than he was to receive a service or a benefit that he needs to help improve his life. With ABLE, you don't have to do that. Self-certifying, and for him to say, I have a disability, or for me as a parent to just say that he has a disability, it gives me tingles just thinking about how that all, the process is definitely different. So enrollment, it's free on enrollment online. It's quick and easy, takes about 20 minutes. There is a $50 opening deposit but it's not a fee, it's just a deposit. There has to be enough, there has to be something that you put in. And then you have 90 days to fund the account. I will say that a lot of families, I grew up in a family that didn't save as much, but my late husband loved to save. And so I learned how to save from him. And so I know families don't really understand a whole lot about saving. I get that, and so, because that was me. But knowing that a $50 deposit, you have to have a plan attached with that. I have a great friend, Wanda, that talks about that. And I'll talk about that maybe in a minute. But it's easy to open up. You put the $50 deposit in there. And then as William's parent, I opened up his account, but an individual with a disability like Travis, he lives in Ohio, and he opened up his account by himself. So I'm his authorized legal rep. A power of attorney can open up an account as well. A guardian can open up an account for the person with the disability. And rep payees, they cannot open an account, but they can wear two hats, because on the resource tab on the website is a limited power of attorney just for the ABLE account. And it can open up the account as a POA. A rep payee can open up an account as a POA. And so we help those families, those individuals with disabilities who have rep payees, that they can afford and have an ABLE account as well. So my friend Wanda had some difficulty in opening up the account because her child is an adult and has never had any credit history. And if you draft from a bank, they need to know that, just because of all the rules, they need to know that this is a valid a person. And so there was a little more paperwork with that. And if you have any questions on that, definitely reach out to me. So you have the account and then funding it. It can be electronic fund transfer, or it can be you can have one account that money can go into that you can draft from, or several accounts. It can also be funded by a check, so you can write a check and put the money in there. And then there's just something that's happened with the CARES Act and these stimulus checks. They don't go directly into the account. They will hit a checking account. And you have 12 months to spend it, but that money from the stimulus check, if it's $1,200, can be drafted from that account and put into an ABLE account, and it won't affect the benefits. Stimulus checks and that money won't affect benefits after 12 months, though. You have to spend it. I will say that ABLE makes it easier to figure out what stimulus money is and what income is. And what SSI money is, because stimulus money doesn't play by the same rules as SSI. So if you put that into ABLE, there's great record keeping in there on what you spend that money on. So you're not commingling those funds with SSI money and stimulus check money, because there are differences. So I talked about limits for ABLE, and here's the limits. There's if you're employed or if you're not employed, and then there is a lifetime limit. So if you're not employed, $15,000 can be put from all sources into the account per year. So if the account gets to $15,000 in one annual year of deposits, excuse me, the system automatically rejects, and it doesn't accept any excess contributions. Excuse me. That's really great, because instead of writing it down how much money you've put in, it'll help us as parents to not always be record keeping in our brain. It'll reject it, so it won't cause you to go over that limit. If one contribution can satisfy the $15,000, then there is no excess. But if like a little bit goes over, it'll push that back, and it'll go back to the person who deposited that money or to the account. If an individual is employed, they made this addition to the law to be an incentive for people to work and save more money. So if the person with a disability is employed, they can deposit $15,000 a year and also can deposit an additional amount of earned wages up to the federal poverty line. So in 2019, it is an additional $12,490, which makes it a total of $27,490 per year that you can save into an ABLE account. That's kind of exciting from 2000, that only you can have an assets to that per year. There is a lifetime limit of $482,000. Wow. I don't think a lot of people are saving that much money, but that you can, all 482,000 have to be all the total deposits, but any increase over that, so they can be larger than that. Now we haven't hit that because we're set at limits of how much money we can put in. And actually, if that much money is in it, you probably should have a trust, but those are other conversations. But $482,000 is kind of a goal, I would think. So here's another way that you can fund this ABLE account. It's e-gifts, and they built it sort of like, Ohio built this like a GoFundMe. So people can give money to adults with or kids with disabilities. So graduations have happened this month, and the number one gift for graduations is money. And I remember when I think William graduated from kindergarten or something, everyone was getting these little cash things, and William wouldn't get that. He'd get a toy or something. But when he graduated from 8th grade, I sent out these emails for these e-gifts. And so people can actually make the decision if they want to give him some money for a graduation, which is typical for other graduates. And it's kind of a nice idea. It never hits his name or his bank or his checking account. So it's safe then. So it protects if he was growing money, or if anyone was growing money and they were close to that $2,000 limit, they wouldn't have to be afraid of it because it would go directly into the account as ABLE money. And then there's advantages that the gifts won't affect the benefits, and there's a record keeping system. I like how it says about thank you notes. For me, it's one of those things of who else is supportive for my son William in his good life, and that's really a great feeling as well when you see those people. It's really nice for them to put money towards him in his future, but it's also really nice that they support him and my goal of trying to get him a good life as well. There's investment options. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. On the website, it talks about the Vanguard funds. There's 4 different ones. They're low cost investment tools. There's a bank safe choice as well, which is like a little savings account, checking account. It's not going to go up and down. It might gain a little bit, but it's very small. But you can use these as transactional in the bank safe. And the Vanguard options are for conservative to aggressive. And like I said, those specifics are on the website. Bank account, the bank account way, the bank safe way is probably used about 50% of the time. We have young parents with young kids who are investing like they are with their 401k to grow that for their child's retirement. And I put that in quotes because it's not really a retirement, but that's what they're doing with those monies. And it's interesting. I had a lot of calls a couple of months ago when the market took a nice dip and dive actually. And, I told them to do the same with what their future and money with their retirement do with this account as well. Don't stop funding it. Keep giving and putting that money in. So how are we going to spend the money? What are we going to spend it on? So withdrawals must be used on quality disability expenses. I love how broadly this is written because it must relate to the disability and help maintain or improve health, independence, and quality of life. I love that maintain part of it because as long as I'm around, William will have income. So he can maintain his life. We don't have a super fantastic rich life, but he can ask for things. And if I'm able, I will give it to him. Sometimes that's not so, so if he's on his own and he only has so much money and what he can spend. But so I like that whole idea of maintaining. It's really pretty. It's a beautiful thought for him. It's not achieving a better life. It's just keeping and maintaining what life he has, and then just missing me. That's the big part, right? So some of the quality disability expenses are housing and rent. There's basic living expenses, transportation, education, assistive technology, financial management, legal fees, and health and wellness. And there's so much that we can justify as health and wellness that I really, really like. My son really loves movies and musicals. And so part of his health and wellness is having a little bit of money that he gets as an allowance every month to buy one movie. Or if now that we're learning how to save money, he can, if he plays, picks the right way, he can get two movies. And so his best life is probably not the same as mine or the health and wellness. And so he can save money to choose what he wants to do with his money and pick that out. That would make him have that quality disability expense be justified. So spending from the account, how do you get the money out of the account? So you can transfer it to personal checking or savings. There's a third party check that you can use, or there is a credit card called the stable account. It's like a debit card. I don't recommend the checking and savings just because of that word commingling money, unless you're going to spend it right away for a purpose. So the record keeping is really low because with SSI, you have to keep some records. The third party pay with a third party check. William has he finds a place to live and he has a landlord, he can pay that landlord out of ABLE. And then the record keeping is done within that ABLE account. And then there's also the debit card, the stable account. It's loadable. It does have limits that you can put on it. It would have William's, your child's name on it, has William's name on it, and you can transfer funds onto the card. So it's patterned after a TrueLink card. And TrueLink cards are really, the disability world knows, TrueLink cards are really user-friendly for family members who want to give independence with spending money, but putting some limits on it. So you can, it doesn't pull directly from the account. So you have to actually physically put money on it like a debit card. It tracks those expenses. It keeps those online records. There are protections, so there's no overdraft. There's no ATMs or cash access whatsoever. And you can limit the merchants that this card can be used at. I'm sensitive to the rights of people who have a disability, and limiting and telling William he can't go to the store by turning off the card because he's unable to make those right decisions for himself, maybe about eating or sugary stuff. He can eat a whole package of Oreos and not gain weight but that's not really the best for him and his inside health. And so, to help him, if he is struggling with making those right choices, I can help him with that, with this teaching method. So I know that it's a nice tool that parents can use to help them. And it does monitor the spending and low balances, so that's good as well. So there are SSI considerations. Supplemental security income, which is distributed by the SSA, as I've said. If the ABLE account reaches $100,000, the benefits will be suspended. If you spend below, it turns back on. With the ABLE being so new and with the limitations on how much money you can put in, we've not had someone reach that 100,000 point yet to see if that's an easy fix. Social Security is aware of it. Social Security is aware of the law and what it should do. So it's just to suspend, not having to go through that whole process. That's what they're tasked with, but we're not there yet, so we don't know what that is, but that's what we believe, and they're told by the law that has to happen. So so if you hold on to the money, this is one of those SSI sort of rules too. If you pull out the money in a calendar month, you have to spend it in that calendar month. So just like I gave the example, if William had a landlord if his rent was due on June 1, he either has to pull it out on June 1 or maybe talk to the landlord and say, I'm going to get my money out on June 1, but June 2nd is when can we make the day? So I've heard landlords are okay as long as they get their money and are consistent, but it has to be spent in the month that it was pulled out. And like I said about it's an asset protection piece, not income. Beneficiaries' own wages still count as income, even if contributed to a stable account. So if an account holder passes away, and I've heard that we have had with the big stable account that they've had people with disability who've passed away, what happens to this ABLE account? Well, the account will pass on to the account holder's estate. Estate just means the person that they're the next of kin to. The estate administrator would notify the Oklahoma Stable and take over account access. And the account essentially freezes, but it will pay some outstanding quality disability expenses, like maybe the landlord has to be paid. It will pay funeral expenses as well. There's no designated transfer upon death. If the beneficiary does not have a will, then the account will go through the probate process. I'm happy to talk to people about this process as well. There's not a lot of advisors or really not a lot of trust lawyers that understand all the details about ABLE, and I really want to be a resource because, this is the field that I'm in to help families through this. And what the probate process is, I don't want anyone to get into the weeds on this. It's not a boundary, it's just a conversation. I hear this a lot about parents who say, well, I'm never going to take all my Medicaid money, all the money that was spent on Medicaid out of this account if we have money in it. First, it pays for the outstanding QDEs, including funeral expenses if needed. Medicaid can get paid back with the funds, and they can recover from this account, but only when the account was open. So if William, I can't remember the actual date that we opened up William's account, but in Oklahoma, what was it, 2018? So we've not really used any Medicaid money yet. And so Medicaid would not get any money if William should pass away. But it's not lifetime, and it's only when the account was opened. So it might be a small amount because it's very new, but I don't want this to be a boundary because there's other ways that we can protect money. A trust is one of those too, and not have that be a boundary to really finding a good way to use these accounts in savings. So the account cost, it's a minimal cost. It's $350 annually. Annual is $42, $350 a month. And I will say that the more people that sign up, it's a membership sort of thing, and I put that in quotes as well, because the more people that have an ABLE account, it will decrease those fees. It used to be $5.50 or something. And Oklahoma's, the Ohio Stable account, who's the ones that oversee all the accounts, they said, we're going to lower this because we already have our maintenance from, we're meeting our maintenance and the account's growing. So we want to put the savings back onto those members. So they reduce that fees. I really like that. And then the asset-based fees, they're very, very low comparatively to other asset-based fees that I've used. So as I said before, when I work with families in special needs planning, I'm often asked the question, which one do I need, a special needs trust or an ABLE account? And I say yes, if you can, but it really depends on the goals. So smaller first-party money, so smaller money that people with a disability have, less than $15,000 goes over into ABLE, right? And then if someone, maybe receives an inheritance or there's some sort of settlement or something, that money, if it's more than $15,000, can be afforded to have a special needs trust if it's over that. Third-party money, special needs trusts are a great place to have money, but to use the stable account as the spending vehicle, it's two tools working together. There are some rules against special needs trust in which you cannot spend with special needs trust money. And so money, Money from a special needs trust to an ABLE account is considered an allowable distribution. So once it hits the funds, you no longer have to be concerned with the distribution rules from a trust, because it's ABLE needs funds now. And it's, like I said, these tools working together. So it gives the person with a disability broader spending power. Oh, this is a great benefit of a couple who lived in an apartment, and they really like living in an apartment together. They're married, Donnie and Michelle. And this is such a great story because I got some help from people talking to them about how to use these ABLE accounts. What do you want to save for? And they said they wanted a house. So they saved, with their jobs, and they put extra money into the account. And so they were able to get up a down payment to put on a home. And so they have a home of their own. I just think that's fantastic. Sometimes as a homeowner, we can just be, or someone who has a house, so you can think of all the chores and jobs. And this really makes me feel good about hearing a different side of what it means to actually own a place, to be in with someone that you love. Love that story. So here's the ambassadors. There's another ambassador that, because of COVID, we don't have a picture, but Wanda Felty is, she works at the USED. She is also a ambassador. Like I said, she's got stories about saving that I don't have, and I love it for her to tell her stories. And she's a parent of Kayla, who has a disability, and Angela Donnelly. She works at the Oklahoma Family Network, and she's the autism coordinator. And then Roseanne DePlum works at Oklahoma Disability Law Center, and we are more than happy to go out and speak with families or take phone calls from families on setting up an account. Like I said, if you email or call any of the other two guys, they'll just send them to us. So maybe stay via phone call. I do want to reiterate that we're all very fortunate to have the support of the State Treasurer's Office. They found out that it's a different conversation when families who have a child with a disability, especially if it has to do with trust, that we give these presentations and can answer questions from families in how we did it, or even have a discussion about what other choices in our lives, or what we're looking forward for the future of our kids and how we're using this account as well. There's another way that you can get some help, and it's the customer service. I will say that they are extremely helpful in the technical part of opening up an account. They will answer some even silly questions, and all the people that work there, they've received a bunch of awards for their customer service, because, like we say, having someone who answers the phone, who has an understanding about disability, whether it be a parent or a provider or someone who's worked in the field. So that really makes me feel good that I know that people on that phone line will really try to get to help you solve your question or fix the problem that you're getting with it, and with this Oklahoma Stable account. Oh, and that is the end of the slideshow. Let me stop sharing here. Do you have any questions, Cody? Any questions do you think that parents might have?
Well, as I was doing this, I kind of went to writing down questions, and you answered most of them. So all of them. But some of the things, I guess I can recap the questions that I would have had was, what's the minimum to start, which you said $50 is the minimum, which is not unreasonable. And then the limit on how much you can save, which you said, 482,000 was the maximum. That you could save. And then there was actually more than that, but that was. Can you explain that? How the maximum is 482,000, but then you said that you could there would be more. Was that? How does that work, I guess?
So all the deposits, they total up to 482,000. But since, let's say a family member, and I know a couple of them who use the account for investment, they're working with on the investment side. So any of that growth, which grows tax-free, it's not counted towards that amount. So all
So
the deposits
gotcha.
have to
So
be
what I
made.
put in can equal that amount, but
Yeah.
then as it grows from my
Yep.
investment, I gotcha. Okay.
That's right.
Um, I thought the e-gifts was a great point. Because we don't think about that, and I'm with you. A lot of times we tend to think that, not us, but as a whole, we tend to think, well, Connor, and I'm going to use Connor as an example. He's fine. He's got his parents. They're going to take care of him. So let me get him this or something. And we don't think that, hey, we need to invest in their future. So the e-gift was a great idea.
Yeah. And, there's an example that my friend Doug, the director of the deputy director of the Ohio Stable account, he was told this story about a person that he knew that needed a new wheelchair. And some of those can be pretty pricey, right? And so one of his friends, and he was saving money, opened up an Able account and was saving money. But one of his friends said, hey, um, let's see if anyone else wants to donate, instead of giving you cash or writing. So they sent out this email to friends and family, and people donated like a GoFundMe for that specific purpose of a wheelchair. I think of all the fundraising events too that we can do with that. That the people that I know who live in group homes or who live um, in and how they have a group of people and people who want to help support them and don't know how to do it. Our friend Wanda talks about how they all know that her daughter Kayla likes some toys or fidgets, and I think she calls them fidgeties or something like that. But they always give, and they've got a lot of those, and she needs those. But another thing Kayla likes is a recliner. She really likes that rocking. And now no one's going to give her that big chunk of money. But if they slowly give, like birthday or Christmas, Kayla will have that amount of money. So when she needs to purchase the things she needs for herself, her parents don't have to, okay, I guess we'll charge it. It's there for what Kayla needs. And, my son always talks about going to Disney World, or I don't want to go, but, and I know I would rather go to the beach. But that William, he won't be going for a long time if he keeps saving like he is. $5. We sell $5 a week, $5 a week. But eventually he'll be able to have that amount of money so he can make that choice. Right now he says he's saving for that, but it could be a new bike. And so, I was always the big permissive one. The other kids would be like, you have to earn it. Well, here, William can earn it too. And I'm teaching him how to save. And we're teaching him how to budget to save. And then sometimes he spends his money on an icy, and so then we don't have that $5 in it. It's less than that, right? So I like how there's these teaching tools in it as well. There are other things I didn't bring up, which I need to add to this, and it's about how it's called a direct deposit. So for those adults who are working, you can give me a call. I'll help work with their employer or HR, their human resources person, and talk to them about a direct deposit. Because the only reason I'm saving money in my 401k, right, is it's not hitting my checking account. And, it's easier when someone else is pulling that aside for your saving in the future. And so that's what can happen here, is that instead of receiving the full amount of the check, the small amount can be put towards that ABLE account with a direct deposit, and they have usable money, and then they have savings that they can keep in there. Like I said, ABLE's the OK Stable account within that program, it's record keeping. So even if it's being pulled out and you sometimes don't realize how much you don't have to keep a tally in your head. It'll keep it in your account so you can see.
Yeah, to kind of go back to the e-gift and versus GoFundMe too, and I mean, I have no problems with GoFundMes, but sometimes we don't trust those because people have set up some crazy things. This we know is secure and that it's going to what we want it to go to. So
yeah, and then there's not those huge fees, right?
right.
So there's a small amount of fees, but if for a specific reason, And especially, I know we always think that we need to change rules and stuff for the small amount of people that make bad decisions. But generally, right, Cody, people make pretty good decisions on, and so that if there's someone who's helping an individual with an account, like the person who sent out helped him send out those emails to help save for that wheelchair. Yeah, it's more protected too. Rep payees have certain rules as well. And so, the people and guardians, if you choose to be one of those, mostly we know that they're good people. They're, of course, we always focus on the bad stories, but generally don't hear all those great stories. And it's typical of the world, though, too.
Yeah. That's all I had. I think I learned a lot. I think I'm no expert, so I would go to you if I needed any advice on this, but I think I could at least tell somebody, hey, this is the way I understand it, and I could probably help a little bit more than I could when we first started. But I think it's a great deal, and I'm so glad that you guys as parents and as advocates have really pushed to do this. So thank you for the training.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, please reach out with questions. A person I know that's really helping other adults manage their ABLE accounts, they're asking more questions, especially about investments, which is really cool. So we were talking about the next program that we want to put out there with the state treasurers, okay. And I spoke to him about this because he's really for saving, he promotes the 529 savings account all the time. And so how can we teach others how to save this money? Because once you have so much money, you kind of need to talk about what to do with it or what those plans are for that money. And so Robin and I are thinking about what kind of training we want to do next. I know training is not a bad word, but something new. And so now that we're getting people to save money, we're going to do that next step. It might be budgeting or dreaming. Here's the sad thing that, and Robin and I were just sitting there, and it gives me chills just thinking about it because, I talk to my child about his future all the time and about spending his money now that he's saving. But Robin says when she asks adults, well, now what do you want to save for? They have no idea because we didn't allow them to say, what that good life is. Let them dream a bit. And so now Robin says, how exciting that we can have little conversations about what do you want to do with the money that you're saving? Or maybe in some cases, what do you want to donate that money to? And so that's really sweet as well. To be a philanthropist, by saving money and donating to this story I heard that may happen. It's given me chills just thinking about it, to a garden. And I just think that's great. So isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Cool.
The rules have changed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cody, for this opportunity. I appreciate it. Please reach out with any questions and give anyone my email or phone number. You have all that information.